Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Eunice if you're new here. Today I've got an easy and affordable DIY for you guys. So I'm currently seeking wall art ideas for our bedroom and our hallway, and I've been seeing these framed textile wall art pieces all over Pinterest, on West Elm, and even on McGee & Co, which is Studio McGee's online store. And I love these pieces so much. I think they're so unique, and the ones on West Elm even say in the description that they are handmade and that each textile art is one of a kind, which I think is so neat. I also love how these pieces help add so much texture to a space, and the fact that they are framed or sometimes even covered in this like acrylic box just elevates them so much, and I can almost imagine them like in a museum or in a very luxurious home. But you will not believe the prices of these. Each one that I found online ranges from about $500 to $800, which is insane to me. I could not drop that amount of money for these pieces. So I ended up DIYing these, and I'm so happy with how this turned out. I think the fun challenge for this project was sourcing the textiles, and I ended up finding two to use, so I'll be creating two different wall art ideas in this video. So yeah, if you're interested in learning how you can recreate these textile wall art dupes, then keep watching. For the first one, we're going to be using this placemat by Magnolia's Hearth and Hand from Target. This is this looks like an underwear. But this is already cut up. But when I saw this at Target, I immediately knew that this was one that I was going to use. It was a very accidental find. I was actually at Target looking for something else, and the colors on these just matched the ones that I saw on West Elm, and the look of it was very similar too, so I knew I had to try this one out. So this placemat cost $4.99, and I'm so sorry, Hearth and Hand. I love your products, but we are going to be cutting this up as you see. But don't worry, because it'll still be put to good use. For the frame, we're going to be using this square white frame. You can obviously use any frame here. I think a floating frame would look really cool too, and also even just a canvas. You can like stitch on your textile onto the canvas, and I think that would look very natural and earthy as well. So I ended up getting two frames, so we're going to be making two from this one placemat. We're first going to measure out how much of the placemat we need to cut off. My frame is an 8x8, so I just drew a 8x8 square on my placemat and then cut it off. As you can see, the placemat has two layers of fabric stitched together, so we're going to pull the layers away from each other, and I just did it very carefully. If you pull hard enough, it will just come off, and the parts that are kind of really tight together, I just used a scissor to loosen out the threads. Now that we have our square, we are now going to fray the edges. And I was wondering how I was going to do this, but as I was pulling out the layers, I noticed that as each thread came off, it created these little frays on the edges. So that's what I basically did. I went around the square and pulled out each thread until the frays were as long as I wanted it. The placemat has got these lines on them that are very thick, and you can just tell that there's a lot of thread sewn on there. For that line that was at the edge, I just cut it off so that I can just reveal the thin layer and fray the edges easily. And that was pretty much it. Once I had the frays as long as I wanted it, I just put it back in the frame, closed it up, and we had our framed textile wall art piece. I think this would also look really nice with a canvas material or like a linen fabric as the backdrop behind the textile instead of the paper mat that comes with the frame. With the paper mat, it definitely looks a lot more modern and refined. I ended up creating one more, and this is how they look together. Moving on to the second one, we're going to be using this knitted top by Forever 21 that I thrifted at the Salvation Army for also $4.99. I ended up picking this one because the inside of the top and the outside are inverse, so I thought I could play around with the two tones. And my initial thought was to make two where one is a square of this side and then the other is a square of the other side, but then I thought that might be a little too simple. So what I ended up doing was cutting out strips of this knit, and I cut out 6, enough to cover up the frame, and then I put those strips side by side and alternating between which side of the knit is showing. And I didn't worry too much about cutting it perfectly. I think the less perfect it is, the more organic and effortless it's gonna look. And that's basically it. I love how this looks, and you can hardly tell that it's from a knitted top. And then for the second frame, I basically did the same thing, but I inversed the order of the strips so that it doesn't look too matchy-matchy. And yeah, this is what they look like side by side. And that is it for today's DIY. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know below which one was your favorite. I really like both, but I think my favorite has to be the black and white one just because it was an original idea, whereas the placemat one looked pretty similar to the one on West Elm. I still haven't figured out which one I'm going to be using in our bedroom versus the hallway, but I think the two frames are definitely going into our bedroom just because it fits the wall space that we have between the two windows perfectly. I think I'm going to decide on which textile to use after we figured out which colors we're going to be adding to our bedroom. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this. When you hit subscribe, make sure to hit that bell next to it as well so that you're notified when I upload future videos. I'll be posting more home decor, DIY, and home lifestyle related videos up on my channel every Friday, so stay tuned for that. And go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well to keep up with my project updates. I love connecting with you guys over there. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one.